Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
You got Luke.
Luke, we're taking a look at another amazing structure that was created out there, the Tower Bridge. So the history, how it works, all that fun stuff.
Have you been there? Have you seen it?
I have been to the Tower Bridge probably 3 or 4 times.
Like crossed it?
Yeah.
Driving,
It's good
walking?
stuff. Walking, never driving.
So you were there as a visitor?
As a visitor, yes. It's very close to the Tower of London, which is kind of cool, and we'll get into a little bit of that later on. But yeah, it's amazing. Definitely stop by and see it.
125 years old.
Ooh, that is old. That's almost as old as you. So let's get this out of the way for all of you ignorant Americans out there.
Yes.
Tower Bridge is not the same thing as London Bridge.
And London Bridge has not
Fallen down?
fallen down.
Fallen down.
Fallen down.
Fallen down, yes. So Tower Bridge is the really cool looking one with like the cool like Gothic looking towers or something like that. London Bridge is like this really not spectacular bridge at all. Like it's just down the road. Like I think it's less than a mile away.
Yeah, it's about a half a mile upstream.
Yeah, and it's just very plain and boring. So
special.
Tower Bridge is the one that you want to go to.
Yeah, Tower Bridge is the one that you see in all the pictures, the postcards, all that sort of stuff.
It's interesting. I didn't write anything about this, but there was a whole lot of hate about Tower Bridge when it got built. Like architects and artists of the time basically poo-pooed it and its design and how stupid it looked and what an eyesore things are. And it's like this one of the most visited landmarks now. It's amazing and it's super cool looking. So I don't think they knew what they were talking about.
So the Tower Bridge is a combined bascule and suspension bridge. It was built between 1868 and 1894. So what is a bascule bridge, you ask, James?
I was actually going to ask that, Luke.
So I think we all know what a suspension bridge is. That's kind of an obvious one. It's suspended. There's cables. Like most bridges you see with like those little curvy metal cables. That's
the Golden Gate Bridge, right?
Yeah, that's a suspension bridge.
Also, if you haven't, check out our episode on bridges. I think it was probably episode 3 or 4.
Did you guys talk about the Tower Bridge?
I don't think we did.
Okay.
It was more of the types of bridges.
Okay. So a
Bascule Bridge.
A Bascule Bridge, it's sometimes referred to as a drawbridge, and this is a bridge that moves, and it can be done a couple of different ways. In some cases, like a typical drawbridge, like you think of like a medieval castle, cable comes down to the end of the bridge that opens up and actually pulls the bridge up. That's one. But a bascule specifically uses counterweights at the back end of the bridge. That's why there's no cables, reaching down to the center of that bridge. And then these counterweights actually leaf that up. It could be a single. Sometimes it's a single. Sometimes it's a double, like the Tower Bridge. And the reason this was necessary was because at that time, ships, had these big tall sails, and they needed to get in further to the port of London.
Right, it wasn't allowed to impede the traffic, right?
Yeah. So there was a crazy, contest that they did, and all kinds of people submitted.
Can I talk about that real quick?
I'd love for you to talk about it.
Thanks. So it was in the 19th century, like you said. They had this big contest. London was booming. Need more ways to get across the river. What is it? The Thames?
The Thames.
Thames River. So they developed a, quote, special bridge or subway committee, which was formed to solve this problem. So 50 designs were submitted.
50?
50, 50. And there was a whole bunch of controversy. So it took them 8 years to actually pick one of these designs and get it approved. Not build the thing, just to pick the stinking design. So that sounds like basically any project I've ever worked on, right? So that's how it works. It was designed by Sir Horace Jones along with his buddy John Wolfe Barry. They got to work on this together. How about this, though, for a little fun fact?
Shoot.
The Honorable Sir Horace there was one of the voters on which project won. Super shady. There was some other episode we did where that happened as well. Super shadiness. Okay, back to you, Luke.
So the Act of Parliament was passed in 1885, authorizing the bridge's construction, and it had all kinds of requirements. But a couple of basic requirements was it must give a clear width of 200 feet or 61 meters, so wide. And it had to have headroom of 41 meters, which is 135 feet, to be able to, and this was at high tide, I believe, to be able to accommodate the mass of sailing ships, and it had to be constructed in a Gothic style.
Oh.
There was a whole bunch of other requirements, I'm sure, but those are kind of the three big requirements.
Those are big requirements.
They are.
How about some fun facts about all this?
Shoot.
And I know you have these as well. We probably researched them in person together while we were visiting the bridge. Not stolen from a website.
Okay.
Okay, a few fun facts. Construction started in 1886 and lasted 8 years to get the project done. 432 people from 5 different companies worked on the bridge. It used 70,000, that's 70,000 tons of concrete in the foundations alone, and between 10 and 11,000 tons of steel. That's a lot.
And did you know that what you see on the outside is purely a facade?
A facade?
A facade?
Yes, I heard that.
So the structural steel underneath does all of the load bearing and all of this and everything. The facade is just to basically cover that up, weatherproof it, make it look good, so it's not just some big metal bridge.
Yeah, Cornish granite, I'm told. Cornish.
Okay.
And Portland stone.
All the way from Portland?
All the way from Portland.
What? That's
right.
Crazy.
But yeah, like you said, it's a facade, but it's also there to protect the steel, to keep it out of the weather as well. Turns out the steel's not always the best at that. So if you've ever seen it, you know that it has that really cool look of the 2 towers, and you might be lucky enough to go visit it soon, so that would be nice for you. Its style is referred to as Victorian Gothic, and it was designed in this style to complement the Tower of London, which is pretty close, like right down the road. You could walk to it. It's a long walk. It's a lot to walk around that city. But anyways, the bridge connected Horsley Down Lane, today Tower Bridge Road, with Iron Gate, today Tower Bridge Approach. So there you go. If you're looking to find this place, just look for Tower Bridge Road, or just use your map and see the giant Tower Bridge sign.
So at the time, this thing cost 1.1 million pounds.
Yeah.
And it's roughly equivalent to 132 million pounds in today's dollars, which I assume is like $1 trillion.
Yeah,
I mean, had to convert pounds to dollars.
I assume so.
It's a lot of money.
There's a lot of pictures of the Queen on that money.
Speaking of the Queen,
ooh, I want to hear.
Back in 1977, they were celebrating her Silver Jubilee.
What's that mean?
25 years? I think silver's 50.
50.
I think so. They were celebrating her Silver Jubilee, and they repainted it from the traditional, before 1977, it was like this brownish, orange, red kind of dull color.
Okay.
They painted it red, white, and blue.
For America?
In honor of her Silver Jubilee. And it's remained that way since.
Well, that was nice of them.
So if you go inside the towers, you can actually see the original paint color on some of the structural steel that you would see on the outside, but when they repainted it for her Jubilee.
I've never gone in the towers nor taken the walkway, but I didn't know that you could do that. Yeah. I would have paid to do that. I don't know how much it is. Probably 500 pounds. 3,000 pesos,
something,
$2 million US dollars,
something like that. I would imagine.
Did you see that Jones, the guy who voted for himself to win this project? He actually died in 1886, so he didn't see the finished product.
See what you get.
Karma, is that what you're saying?
Yep.
So the work was taken over by George Stephenson, replacing... Oh, and this is kind of interesting. He replaced the original brick facade that they were going to go with the ornate Victorian Gothic style that they have going on. Yeah. So he made that killer decision. So good for you, George.
It's beautiful. I mean, I don't know why they would think it wouldn't look nice. I mean, it's a beautiful bridge. I mean, it's probably one of the, most recognizable for sure, but... Even just being recognizable, I mean, it's an amazing structure.
It's certainly not as attractive as any of the bridges in Pittsburgh.
Bridge City,
all the rusty yellow bridges we have.
Most of them are failing.
You probably don't want to drive on them. Okay, before we go on with this beautiful bridge, let's take a break for a word from our sponsor.
VisitLondon.org.
I was going to say, I saw that you can actually creep on the bridge on visitlondon.org or something like that.
Okay.
It was actually the Queen Elizabeth Prize for Engineering. No! But if you haven't checked out our episode on the Queen Elizabeth Prize for Engineering / the invention of the GPS with our good friend Hugo.
Yep.
Check that one out. That one was amazing. But our shout-outs, we do have a lot of them.
Shoot.
Terry D. thinks the wheel and electricity are the top 2 inventions. So take our list and shove it.
Didn't we omit those? Didn't we say that in the podcast?
We omitted fire at the very start. I don't know where they landed. I remember saying the wheel and you poo-pooed it. I don't know about electricity where it fell.
Okay.
And honestly, we get so many write-ins about this episode, and I'm like, man, I don't even know what our list ended up being. Vikash S. Asking for input on landing a job in the US of A, along with other things. Has tons of CAD experience, so if any of you are looking for a CAD engineer, we'll hook you up with this person. All of the platforms. Softwares? Something.
Nice.
Armin is the one who suggested the environmental engineering episode that I forgot during it. So here's your shout out to make up for that. I'm very sorry. Also asking for a shout out for Ali and his friend Armin, not Arman, Armin, his friend.
Okay.
Hopefully I got some of the pronunciation right.
I'm sure you killed it.
And Ivan K said, thanks for the stickers that we sent. So how considerate. It's always nice when they write back and say, hey, I got your stickers.
You know what I like most is like you do all of this footwork to get stickers, and I get to reap the rewards.
You do.
The glory, the accolades from our listeners. Make sure that if you have any suggestions or poo-poos of any lists we've created, make sure you send us an email at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com.
That's right.
And we'll send you some stickers. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. Make sure you share. Make sure you review wherever you happen to listen. iTunes, SoundCloud, Jitterbits, wherever you happen to listen.
Jitterbits is mostly the...
I
wonder if Jitterbits is actually a page. I bet.
I'm sure it is.
I feel like everything is at this point.
It is.
Yeah, certainly go on there and review. I don't know how many we're up to, but I bet by the end of this
7,000.
year... I bet by the end of 2020, is that what it is? Yeah, we hit 250 reviews, which would feel pretty good to me.
That would feel good.
Yeah. All right. So thanks for that, Luke. You really owned that part.
I tried.
Okay, so more about the bridge. What do you think?
Yeah.
How about this one for a fun fact to kick it off? The high-level open-air walkways that were also part of the design gained a reputation as a, quote, haunt for prostitutes and pickpockets. So if you were looking to get lucky, that was the place for you to go.
Or get mugged.
Or get mugged, yes. As they were only accessible by stairs, dark, creepy stairs, and they were seldom patrolled and seldom used by regular pedestrians. So basically, if you saw somebody walking up there, you knew what they were up to.
So whenever I saw this, I kind of forgot for a second that this thing is a bascule where it opens
bascule.
up. But apparently, the reason why, so you can walk across the main deck when the bridge is closed.
Uh-huh.
But they built the top one for, let's say the deck was open for extended periods of time. You could walk up a set of steps, walk across the top, and there's actually two of them.
There is
I've never
on either side.
I've never seen like a view from the top. And when I was researching, I just assumed it was just like one pier, going across. There's actually two of them.
Yeah.
I guess if it was open for extended periods of time, people still needed to get back and forth, so that's why you could walk up and over and down.
Rather interesting, right? So it was shut down, though, in 1910, the walkway was, and then it was reopened in 1982 as part of the Tower Bridge exhibition. I think they were like, oh, we can make money on this because people love it. Yeah. So that makes sense. During the Second World War, as a precaution against the existing engines being damaged by enemies, a third engine was installed for helping to lift the bridges and lift and lower them. So that was kind of something. I'm hopping all over on the timeline. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I kind of feel like this was going to happen with this one.
Okay, so in April of 2008, it was announced that the bridge would undergo a facelift. Probably much like the Queen. No, that's not true or nice. That was a cheap shot.
I think that's illegal.
We're going to get
besmirch
thrown in
the Queen.
British jail now. Costing £4 million and taking 4 years to complete. The work entailed stripping off the existing paint down to the bare metal and repainting it in blue and white. Each section was then covered in scaffolding, kind of like Big Ben is now, which makes me angry. And a big old plastic sheet covered stuff too, so that none of the paint and stuff would fall into the river and pollute it. So good job on your green initiative there, England.
Okay.
Wasteful fun fact. You ready for this one?
I love these kind.
This one's not cool. I mean, I guess it's okay. In June of 2012, a set of Olympic rings were suspended from the bridge.
I remember those.
To mark 1 month to go until the start of the games. You remember them on the bridge? Okay. The rings cost £259,817 to create. They measured 25 by 11.5 meters, so 82 by 38 feet, pretty large, and weighed 13 tons.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Very vividly.
Yeah, I remember the,
It was a cool picture.
the Olympics. It was, but I mean, man, that's a lot of money to slap some rings on your bridge.
So let's talk about the structure itself, some details.
I want to hear it now.
So the bridge itself, so this does not include the little spans on either side.
So like the center bridge.
Yeah, the
that
center
goes
bridge.
up and down.
Basically from tower to tower is 800 feet in length. The two towers, and I think of Lord of the Rings.
Oh, how could you not?
The two towers are 213 feet each, so that's like 65 meters.
Like high.
Height-wise. The span just in the center between the two towers, I'm sorry, that 800 was overall. The span between just the two towers is 200 feet, or 61 meters. And then those bascules, whenever that bridge raises, they raise to an angle of 86 degrees to allow traffic to pass. And each one of those bascules weighs over 1,000 tons.
Did you see that they can lift those things up in 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
To let a boat through?
Do you want to know how they do that in 5 minutes, James?
Yeah, I'd really like to know how they do that in 5 minutes.
I would too.
Oh, you don't know how?
You knew.
Oh, well, I mean, I have all sorts of stuff about the the hydraulic system, if that's what you wanted me to talk about. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I really dropped the ball on that one.
That's okay. I was doing like a pass off, and you.
Can I give you a few well, I'll save my fun facts for later. Yeah. How about that? Okay, so the pass-off was talking about the hydraulic system. So this is how the bridge raises and lowers. And we'll look at a couple different ways because it has changed over time.
I like the old way the best.
You like the old way?
It's very interesting.
When it was people who disrespected the queen and said she got a facelift and like had to do it by hand.
Had to go shovel coal.
Yeah, shovel coal. The original raising mechanism was powered by pressurized water stored in several hydraulic accumulators, which sounds very scientific to me. Water at a pressure of 750 psi or 2.5 megapascals for people who understand those units. It was pumped into these accumulators by two 360 horsepower horizontal twin tandem compound stationary steam engines. So it was pumped in by steam engines.
And they were fired by coal.
Right, and these were fired by coal
fire,
that Luke shoveled in there. Fitted with Meyer expansion slide valves. So each engine drove a force pump from its piston, tail rod. The accumulators comprised a 20-inch ram that sits on this heavy weight to maintain all of this pressure that you needed to make all of the magic happen.
And it's actually, like, whenever I looked at the actual mechanism that turns it, it's just a rack and pinion.
Oh, yeah, super basic, right?
Yeah, so
just large.
At the end of the bridge, where the pivot point is, there's a pinion, and then there's a curved rack that actually is inside of the tower. And there's actually a part of the tower, I saw this little video, there's a part of the tower that was specifically built because when they built the curved pinion, or the curved rack that went over the pinion, it actually came out of the tower a little bit.
Yeah.
So they built like a little enclosure so you don't see this big metal rack. So essentially, all that water pressure you talk about basically drives that rack down, rotates the pinion down, and raises the bridge.
Yeah, there we go. What's kind of interesting to me is that, a jack of many trades was involved with this. So the entire hydraulic system was put in by the same people that put in the gas lighting system as well. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Same company. In 1974, the original operating mechanism was mostly replaced by a new electro-hydraulic drive system. And then a computer system was installed in 2000 to control the raising and lowering of the bridge parts. Up until that point, it had been a manual process, which is crazy to me. So this computer system actually proved to be rather unreliable, and so the bridge started getting stuck upon opening or closing on several different occasions until the sensors were replaced in like 2005. And then the engine became redundant because of these modernization processes in 1974. So it was donated to the Fernet Industrial Steam Museum.
Nailed it.
So I think I got pretty close. So go check that out if you like big engines.
The cool thing about is all like the the moving and mechanical parts of the bridge, that's all still intact. I saw this picture of the room.
It's so cool.
Did you go into the room?
No,
you didn't do the tour.
No,
so
I just walked
you
across.
can actually go underneath, and there's this giant room. It looks like a cave, and you're basically looking at the bottom side of the bridge deck in this big concrete room, and it actually pivots down and actually goes into the room, like where you're standing whenever the bridge goes up. It looked like something like out of like, I don't know. The fact that they designed that back then just amazes me.
Yeah, it is crazy, and it's so pretty too on top of it. That's
Yeah.
nice. I know you're only there for a very limited amount of time, but my recommendation is you hit up Borough Market for lunch, which is amazing.
I think it's Borough.
Head over to the New Globe Theater, which is amazing. It's one of
Okay.
my favorite places. Walk across the Tower Bridge and check it out, or another one so that you can take the pictures of it, and then hit up the Tower of London and see where the Queens got their heads chopped off for
I've got like
not.
4 hours.
I
Can do this in 4
know.
hours?
No, probably not.
Okay.
But man, it's awesome. Okay, so before we go on any more about this amazing bridge, let's take a break for this week's Luke's Rant.
So I'm going to keep my rant related to the UK, I'll say.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm going to
Sort
title.
of.
This is what I'm going to title as my royal rant. So this is all about Harry and Meghan. You know I got to bring it up. So you and I are not, royal subjects. So
No.
I don't know if we have different opinions about this. Like, to me, this whole thing with like Harry and Meghan, it is all over the news. So if you don't know, if you've been under a rock for the last
You
2
don't know,
weeks,
now you know.
Meghan convinced Harry, I'm sure
How
that's
do
really
you
what
know?
happened, that, let's not be royals anymore. We want to make our own money and make our own way and live where we want to live and not have all these royal duties. And you have to think that maybe she was thinking she was going to do this from the get-go. Just saying. But, like, so many people are up in arms about this, that, like, this is, like, one of the first times in, like, ever that this has happened, and the Queen had to give special permission. There's all this drama, and she's like, I don't care one iota whether...
Which is a very small amount.
Yeah, a very, very... So I do care, but it's really, 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 really small. And I don't know if that's just like a U.S. thing, because, like...
USA.
I don't know. Like I imagine over in the UK, do they care about what's going on with all of our impeachment stuff now?
Probably.
Or like, I don't know. Or is it just me? So how do you feel? Are you upset about Meghan and Harry not being royals anymore?
I'm not upset about it, but I am always fascinated by the royal obsession that Americans have.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't have that.
What's her face? Who's the one married to the
Kate.
other brother? Kate Middleton.
Yeah, Kate
Like
Middleton.
when she had her wedding, that was such a huge
Oh, my
deal. I
goodness.
remember, and even when Harry got married, that was a big deal. And every time they're shooting at another baby, that's a big deal. Like who cares? Like, how does that impact me in any way?
Like, literally.
It's great that you're interested. That's fine, but I don't even understand how England cares. Like, how do they support this?
Yeah.
Like having a. And that's mean. I know you all love the Queen, and it's great that you have her, but it just seems like, why? Like,
Yeah.
other than, people come visit Buckingham Palace or whatever.
I think it's a lot of nostalgia. A lot of it's
I think
historical.
so.
A lot of it is, like, she's not making policy decisions.
I don't think
mean,
so.
So I don't
I've
know.
watched The Crown,
So-
and she looks at a lot of letters in her box. I don't know.
So I guess my rant is I don't understand our obsession, in particular with Meghan and Harry, but more broadly, like
Yeah.
you said,
I
with
did
the
like Pippa.
royals.
She's not a royal, but she's a sister to what's-her-face, Kate.
I don't know.
Never mind.
So obviously you do have a royal obsession if you're the sister of the Okay. All right.
I'm with you. I don't understand it, and I appreciate your royal rant. Man, that was good. Royal
was
rant.
funny.
Well done. Okay. Back to the show.
Back to the show.
Okay, what do you have next?
So I got all kinds of crazy stuff that happened to kind of wrap us
Yeah,
up here.
I love
don't know if
those.
you have anything else before we
I'll
do
throw
that.
out a few fun facts first, and then we get into some of the fun stories. Fun fact, the bridge was controlled manually until 2000. Told you that one.
Yep.
Fun fact, these things are raised, the bridges are raised about 3 times a day, and you need 24-hour notice for your ship to be able to pass through.
You gotta pay
have to
for
give
it?
them a heads up.
You got to pay for it, you think?
I don't know. I bet you do.
Yeah,
I
there's-
feel like if they're charging me to walk up a tower, they're probably charging ships to pass through as well.
Yeah.
The first stone was laid by by Albert, Prince of Wales. About 40,000 people cross the bridge each way every day. That is a lot of people.
Yeah.
Fun fact, completely unrelated, Alfred Hitchcock was a Brit. Yeah.
How did that make it into your...
So it had to do with like the people saying, like making quotes about this. And for some reason it was like 3 things the Brits have that the U.S. doesn't.
Okay.
And Alfred Hitchcock was one.
Okay.
And I didn't realize that. I never thought about it.
Alrighty.
22,000 liters of paint were used to paint the bridge. 2 million rivets and 31,000 bricks were placed. Those are all my fun facts.
Okay.
Let's hear a fun story, Luke.
Okay, so we got a bunch.
So many.
A lot of these revolve around flying. So
there was a lot of flying.
I'm gonna kind of group some of these together. So, in 1912, Francis McLean. In 1952.
No, that's a different one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So 1912, in 1968, and in 1973, people flew planes either in between the towers, like close enough where they were in between, or they went underneath the walkway above and the bridge directly in between the two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of it was like protest or things like that. The weird one, like the 68 one, like Hawker Hunter Tower Bridge incident, they call it. It was a dude in the Royal Air Force that flew this FGA-9 jet fighter by this bridge. And he was unimpressed that senior staff were not going to celebrate the Royal Air Force's 50th birthday with a fly past. So this guy decided to take it into his own hands and did all of this flying around. And he went past Parliament. He did all that stuff. He headed towards the Tower Bridge. He flew beneath the bridge's walkways, which is crazy that you would go about doing that. And then he was immediately arrested upon landing, just discharged from the Royal Air Force, and had no chance to defend himself in any way because
how
you're
dangerous
stupid.
that is?
Yeah. My favorite story was in December of 1952.
Oh, yeah, this is the one
Yeah, the bridge opened while a double-decker bus was coming across from the South Bank. So as it's going across, this bridge starts to open.
The guy from Hogwarts is driving the bus, right?
Yeah, I don't remember his name, but the night bus? I don't know. Anyways, at the time, the way it worked, because you're like, how did that possibly happen? A gateman would ring a warning bell and close the gates when the bridge was clear for the watchman to order the raising of the bridge. The process failed somehow while the watchman was not on duty. He was kind of taking a break, we'll say. And the bus was near the edge of the thing raising, and the driver, Albert Gunter, made a split-second decision, Luke. To accelerate. So he's going full speed on this thing, right? He hammers down the gas, and he clears a 3-foot gap, dropping 6 feet onto the other side, which had not started to rise yet. So, I mean, a giant old bus, not going all that fast, cleared a 3-foot gap and dropped 6 feet down, which is kind of funny. There were no serious injuries, and Gunter was given a 10-pound, or equivalent of 280 pound of nowadays money, as a reward by the city cooperation to honor his act of bravery. I thought that was pretty cool. He hammered it. He
I feel like Keanu Reeves should have been driving that bus, or Sandra Bullock.
Whoa. That was my Keanu impression.
So my favorite crazy thing that happened, this was...
this is a good one. I think I know
where's that? So this was kind of recent. So this was in October 2003. David Crick, a father for justice. I don't even know what Father for Justice was. I'm sure it was something. He decides he's going to climb one of the towers, and he decides to stay there for 6 days, and he's dressed up as Spider-Man.
Why not?
So they and so you know, I'm not a police officer. I'm not. First responders. I don't know how to deal with people. I guess they were afraid he was going to jump, because I just would have shot him with a bunch of rubber bullets and beanbags and just like taken him. They let him up there for 5 days keeping the bridge closed because they were afraid he was going to jump or he was going to do something. And it took 5 days before they actually opened up the bridge again.
Luke clearly has zero tolerance for people dressed like Spider-Man.
Rubber bullet, beanbag, take him down, put some things on him, make fun of him for wearing a Spider-Man outfit for 5 days.
It's reasonable.
Yeah, it's crazy.
2 other stories real quick. One in 1999, Jeff Smith, sounds like a made-up name to me, decided that he needed to drive a flock of sheep across the bridge, and he was exercising some claimed ancient permission to do so. So just a whole bunch of sheep crossing the bridge. But one of my other favorites is back in 1997. The motorcade for then U.S. President Bill Clinton was divided in 2 by opening the bridge. So on one side, part of his entourage was through, and on the other side, there sat Mr. Bill Clinton just hanging out, waiting for the bridge to close. And it said that they were on heading to a restaurant to meet with the UK Prime Minister, Tony Blair at the time, and who was on time waiting at the restaurant. And Mr. Clinton was a little less punctual, and therefore he missed the cutoff for the bridge opening, and so he had to sit there and wait for it to close. And they said, the embassy said, we tried to contact the American embassy, but they wouldn't answer the phone. So the president had to wait.
Apparently, last but sad fact
no.
is people tend to jump off of this thing a lot to kill themselves. So if you're thinking about, doing that, first of all, call one of your local suicide hotlines. Get some help. That's kind of a sad thing to be in that place to want to do that and to choose a place like this to do it. But don't do that, people. If you're feeling sad, call somebody. There's help out there. Don't jump off a bridge.
Yeah, good for you, PSA.
I try.
All right, so on that note, let's call it a wrap. Hopefully you all learned something about the Tower Bridge. A lot of interesting facts. Luke, I hope you really enjoy your trip when you get to go over there. It is really a beautiful thing, contrary to what a number of the people thought back in the day. So, until next time.
See ya.